Southern California, and welcome to this week's edition of Right on the Money, brought to you by the incredible team of Mosley Wealth Management. I'm your host, Kristin Oakley, and joining me in the studio is Tom Mosley. He is the founder and president. Tom, my friend, it's great to be back with you. How are you this week?
Fantastic. I hope you're doing well.
I'm doing really well. I look forward to this time with you every week, and I'm very excited for today's show, as always. But we have put together another great show for you at home. We are going to be talking today about the whens of retirement, meaning when should you do this? When should I be doing that? We have so many numbers and important key dates that we need to know about our retirement and our retirement plan. So I'm excited to get into it with you.
Good, me too.
So let's start with a good, just general overarching question. Of course, a lot of people, I think they think about retirement planning, and depending on your background, you might be thinking about it even in your younger years, or some people wait until it's time to retire. When, in your opinion, is the best time to start considering retirement planning?
Today?
Today, yes.
Absolutely today. Regardless of who you are, unless you're 4 years old and your grandfather's making you sit down and watch this with him, if you have a job, you need to be thinking about retirement. I mean, from the very, very beginning. If you are, for instance, if you're 18 up until 49, that would be the first segment that I would look at. And you start getting a job and they have these things that you don't know about, you've never heard about, but they call them a 401k. You need to start getting involved in that. That is something that they're going to take the money out of your paycheck. You say, really? Yeah, it's one of those adult things. You have to just learn how to do adulting, okay?
Yes.
And they're going to take the money out of your paycheck. Some of you are listening to this and you're 35 and you haven't started adulting in that way yet, because they come in sometimes and they say, I'm 35, my parents come to you, should I start participating in my 401k? I would say absolutely, totally yes, for two major reasons. Number one, if it's important, we automate it in life. We just make it something that's automatically there. And what the 401k will force you to do is automatically, on purpose, start taking money out of your paycheck before it gets into your bank account. A lot of people say, well, I'll just wait and get it in my bank account and then I'll send it here or I'll send it there. Maybe, but probably maybe not. You say that'd be easy to do. It's also too easy not to do. Yes. So what I find is get involved in your 401k. And the second big reason is they match. Kristin, it's not uncommon. I've run into some places recently that in the fight to get better and better people, that they're matching 5, 7, 8% on a 401k.
Yes.
Now, if I gave you if you had $8 and you put it into this account and I put another 8 into there and you had $16 just overnight, that's a good deal, okay? That's a financial advisor here, I'm telling you, that's a good deal. You need to take advantage. You need to take advantage of it because it's automatic. You need to take advantage of it because you can put that money in there and usually get matched by it.
For sure. So that's free money you're leaving on the table if you are not taking advantage of the match. And just a couple other benefits is it lowers your taxable income for that year, right?
Yep, absolutely.
You get to get a tax break then, and you get to have time on your side. That is the biggest asset that any one of us has. And I know I wish I had known some of these things in my 20s that I didn't get to find out till my 30s. So I'm really glad that you're presencing them for folks.
Well, there may be people out there too who say, well, I don't have a 401k at my work. Well, you've got options. Given the right kind of income levels of under $110,000, $120,000 a year, you can put the money into an IRA and still get the tax deduction. Or you can put the money, maybe even better yet, into a Roth, that's a ROTH IRA, and you can actually start saving. Now, if you're 18 to 49, you can only put $6,500 a year into that, a little over $500 a month, but at least you need to get something started. Now, here's a big mistake people make too when you're in that age. A lot of people come to me because we get referred like crazy. People say, well, you've done such a good job with us. Can you work with my children? Don't call me and say, my kids won't listen to me. Maybe they'll listen to you. They won't listen to me either, okay? I just want to make sure that that's confirmed.
Want to set realistic expectations.
That's right. I want to be honest on the show, okay? But if they come to me and they say, well, I want to start saving for a house, okay, well, I want to put my money into a Roth IRA or an IRA to save for a house. I don't think that's the best thing to do because those are retirement accounts that have strings to them if you start getting that money before you're 59 and a half. So what we do with our younger just starting out couples who are starting to save, and maybe they don't have a 401k, or maybe they do. We start an after-tax account, which is a joint account, or if they have a trust, the family trust, we put it in the name of the family trust. So from 20 to 49, there are things you need to be doing. We say, why do I need the after-tax account? Because they say, well, we're going to buy a house. All right, we want to buy a house. Well, if you want to buy a house, you want to build up the down payment. You don't want to generally do that in an IRA or a 401k or a Roth. You can borrow from some of those things, but it's not as good as just having that money separate. So you need to get started. You're not going to buy a house in Southern California by just saving a couple of paychecks. You need to get started. There needs to be a deliberate plan if you're 20 to 49.
I love that you're talking about phase 1, so ages 20 to 49. Let's shift now and talk about phase 2, the all-important decade of our 50s. So if you're between the age of 50 and 59 and a half, what are some things that those folks need to be considering?
Well, I'm an old football coach. I call this pregame,
yes.
Okay, because you're really getting ready to play the game. The 20 to 49 is just practice. Now at 50, the rules even change. You know, I talked about the IRA and the Roth just a minute ago. They now allow you to do what's called a catch-up provision, where instead of $6,500, you can do $7,500 into either of those. And in your 401k, and we're talking 2023 numbers, you can put away $22,500 if you're under 50. But once you reach 50 and it's pregame, I mean, you're really out there, then you can go up to $30,000 a year that you're putting away. It's called a catch-up provision into your IRA. You also need to not only take into account what you're saving, but Kristin, I find it so comforting to people. Almost everybody that I work with, believe this or not, wants to live inside a house the rest of their life. Okay?
Shocking.
It's shocking. I know. It's really crazy. But you need to get the house paid off if you can. Now, I know most financial advisors will say, don't take that money, let me have it, let me invest it, let me make a fee off of it, is what they're really saying. But I'm a fiduciary to the core, and I want to make sure that the people have a great retirement, and the most contented people have their house paid off. And if you can get that done between the time you're 50 to 59 and a half, you can make that one of your major projects that you're trying to get done. I call it like running the low hurdles, because you're going to have monthly expenses all through retirement.
Right.
But if you still have a mortgage, you have the high hurdles every single month. And if you watch those high hurdles, they almost stop and leap over the hurdle and then go forward. I'd have to stop and knock it down and then step over it myself.
I think I would as well.
Yeah, I know. But in retirement, when you get 50 to 59 and a half, really focus on getting the debt shut off, pay off the student loans that you might have incurred for your kids or you're still incurring for yourself, pay everything off, get the debt out of the way, and start really contributing to the 401k.
Well, I know we're going to have to go to commercial soon here, but there's another phase we need to talk about and to touch on, or at least start the conversation. That is phase of 59 and a half and up to 73.
Hey, you're in the game. You're in the game, because at 59 and a half, you can actually start taking money out of your 401k. Even if you're still working, it's called an in-service distribution. You can start taking money, you can start applying it. You can start applying it to a retirement plan where you really put the building blocks of a retirement plan. I think the 401k is like building a lumber yard. And then when you get to a retirement plan, that's like we call it a retirement blueprint together, and actually building the house that you're going to live in for retirement, to make sure that you take care of 6 things: income, inflation, investments, taxes, your health care, and your legacy, how you're going to leave it. And that's what we do at Mosley Wealth Management. We have 5 offices that are spread all over Southern California. We have 6 fiduciary Series 65 licensed advisors who will sit down and meet with you at one of our 5 offices if you call in. And we will put together a retirement blueprint based on the lumber yard that you put together. And we'll show you how to put that together into a house that you can live in through retirement. When you're 59 and a half, you say, when should I start this? I love to start with people when they hit that 50-year mark, because you say, well, I still got 8 or 10 years to build and to work. Right, if we can get input there, it saves a lot of mistakes that you might make from 50 to 59 and a half. It gives you direction, it gives you focus as to where you're going to do. And most of you will only retire once. You're only going to do it once, but we literally have done it with thousands of people in the 28 and a half years I've been in the business. I've done it with thousands of people, and we welcome you to call in, to get on our schedule, and we'll help you in every way we possibly can. Can you give them the number, how to reach us?
Absolutely,
okay?
Tom. Thank you so much. To our viewers at home, that number to call to get your own complimentary retirement blueprint from Tom and the team at Mosley Wealth Management is there on the bottom of your screen, 866-709-1462. You're also welcome to take out your smartphone. Simply scan that QR code in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. That will take you over to a landing page, ask you a few short, simple questions, and a member of the team will reach out to you to schedule your complimentary meeting that way as well. We have a lot more to cover. If you've ever asked yourself the question, when can I retire? You're not going to want to miss what Tom has to say. Stay with us.
My company now, we're up to 12 people, and we have 6 advisors and 6 support staff. Our main office is right across the street from Anaheim Stadium in Anaheim, right above the Partners Credit Union. We're on the 2nd floor above that. But we have a satellite office now in Glendale, north of downtown LA. Out east, we're in Chino. And then down in San Diego, we have a really quickly growing office down in Scripps Ranch. We're still a little bit like mom and pop. We don't just like our staff and our employees. We love them. We have lunch together. I bring in lunch on Mondays, and we spend about an hour just talking about the weekend and talking about life with all 12 of us that are there. There's some businesses where everybody pulls together and where everybody pulls their own way. It's definite in our company that everybody pulls together. We care about each other. It blesses my heart to see a couple of my new advisors come in on a Monday, and they're talking about the fact that they took their wives out together, the 4 of them, and went out for dinner on a Saturday night. In fact, one noted person told me recently, he said the chances that somebody would start a business and in your area and get to where you guys are at Mosley Wealth Management is about probably 1 in 50,000 because of the success we've had and the focus we've had on working with people to make sure they don't run out of money.
Welcome back, Southern California. You're watching Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. I'm your host, Kristin Oakley, and we are talking today about the whens in retirement, meaning when should you do this, when should you do that. In the first segment, Tom, we talked a lot about the different age ranges of some important things we need to be aware of and thinking about in terms of retirement. I know a lot of folks probably come to you, and the number one question is, when can I retire? Translation, do I have enough money saved up to allow me to retire? So let's talk about that when in retirement, if you will.
It's a series of questions. They come in, can we retire? And I start probing a little bit. And my guys do the same thing I do because I've trained them, and they go in and, can I afford to retire and not run out of money? Mm-hmm. Okay, that's the real thing. Yep. Rutgers University did a study about 8 years ago, and the number one concern of people 58 years of age and older was, am I going to run out of money before I retire? It was more of a concern than dying, because you're going to die.
Right.
And we tell people, if you'll come in and you'll tell us the exact date you're going to pass away, we will put together a perfect retirement plan. But otherwise, we've got a plan on you living a very long time now, in case you haven't read the newspapers recently. The newspapers are a little paper you used to get delivered on your...
Oh, yes, I still get one.
Okay, you understand what I'm talking about, though. They don't exist very much anymore.
No.
But that's the biggest question. And so the first thing, we've had people come in, and they've got a happy and successful retirement, and they've got $150,000. And then we've had people come in. I've had people I've met with in the past 2 months. One client came in and they had over $3.2 million, and I don't know that they can successfully retire.
Wow.
Because it doesn't matter how much you have, your lump sum.
Right.
Well, and I say this many times on our show, it's not your lump sum, it's your income. And do I have enough income? So, whereas when you're 20 and you're 30 and you're 40, and even when you're 50, the lump sum that you have saved in that lumber yard we talked about in the first segment is really important. When you get to retirement, it's the income flow and the guaranteed income flow that you have that's going to last as long as you do.
Right.
And if you're married, like you and I we're both married, and you and your husband, you guys are going to have 2 of you to consider. And Susan and I are going to have the 2 of us to consider. So will it last as long as my spouse is still alive? And so those are the key things that we hone in on. So the first thing we've got to do, and I'm amazed and don't feel like you're being put down if I say this, I'm amazed at how many people don't know what their budget is. And they don't understand. Budget's always been a 4-letter word, even though they took 6 letters.
The B word, I often refer to it, right? A lot of people shy away from it.
They shy away from it because they're afraid of it. So one of the first things we do when we start to build a retirement blueprint with you is we'll sit down, and if you don't have a budget, now if you're an engineer, you're going to bring in a pasted together with tape 4-page deal, and you're going to hold it out and say, this is my budget through 2075. I mean, you know, that's the way engineers are. Congratulations, engineers, bring that in. We need it. But if you're not an engineer and you're just out there and you don't have a budget, congratulations, you're normal. Come in. We can help you put together a budget. Now, how do you eat an elephant? You eat it one bite at a time. So we just start with, what are you spending on housing? And I've had people come in. One lady came in one time and she said, you know, we bought our house in 1959. We don't owe anything on our house. It cost us nothing. And I said, congratulations, they're going to take it away from you in 2 years. She looked at me and she says, what do you mean they're going to take it away? I said, you have taxes, don't you? Oh, yeah. Do we ever have taxes in California?
Right.
And we have insurance because it's insured. And if your house is paid off, you still have money that you're paying for repairs. If you bought it in 1959, they're just things you're going to have to be doing with it. So you've got to have that target. 2 of my advisors that you'll meet if you come in and meet with us, 2 of my advisors are college baseball players. And one of them, Travis, my son, was a pitcher. And he's been on this show before, and he talked about, at this point when we were talking about the budget, he said, when I was a pitcher and I was standing on the mound, I always had to look at the catcher. I always had to look at the catcher's mitt. I always had to know where I was going to throw the ball because that was the target. So back to what I said, I've had people with $150,000 that were happy, and I've had people with $3.2 million that were not happy because they probably needed to work a little bit more. The people with $3.2 million needed $34,000 a month. That was their budget. And that puts 3.2 iffy when you're 61 and 59 years of age. So you just got to understand that. You're not even eligible to supplement that with Social Security yet. So there are pressures on you depending on when you decide to retire. The couple with 150,000, they were both school teachers, and they both had really nice CalSTRS pensions, and they had more money coming in for income even though they didn't have that much money in a lump sum. So the lump sum doesn't mean anything as compared to the income when you get to retirement. And so that's where we focus, and that's what we really, really hone in on.
For sure. And it just, I mean, that's the reality, right? It doesn't have so much to do with how much you've saved up. It's your ability to take that lump sum and convert it into reliable ongoing income for yourself. And so my next question for you is, how does that target change once you are retired, right? Because we're talking about the whens of retirement. Obviously that day comes when people decide, okay, I do want to go ahead and stop working. I'm ready to retire. So how does that target change for them at that point?
Great question, and it's so pertinent for you to understand. Sometimes people come in and their question to me is, do I need to put together a budget now or one for the future? Well, let me tell you something. You have to work from the known to the unknown. And so we always work with what your budget is now. And there's like a worksheet. We pass it out at all of our live events. Go to our website. You can see all of our live events. You can register for one. We've got them all the way from north of Glendale all the way to south of San Diego. So you can come to one of our Social Security or tax workshops or retirement master class, which is a 3 or 4 hour class where we go through the whole scope, not just taxes or Social Security. But we will pass out a budget worksheet. You can call into our office and get a budget worksheet. And if you know where you are now, then we can sit down and say, what changes when I retire? And that really begins to give you a better picture of retirement. Yeah, we're into investment plans. We're into income plans. We're into building tax strategies for you. All of those are what we get feed off of, if you understand what I'm saying. Everybody gets feed off of something. Yes. But we're more concerned that you really understand your retirement and that this fits you, because if you're not happy with it, then we're not happy with it. So we have to start with where you are now, and we build out where you will go. You say, well, I won't travel 50 miles to my job every day. No, but you'll travel to Athens, Greece, or to Venice, Italy.
All those bucket list places that you've been waiting and planning for, right?
Exactly. But to do this, and for us to help you, You've got to respond. You've got to call in, and we can sit down with you. What we do is we meet with you probably a couple of times. We'll look at your situation. The second meeting we call our analyze meeting, where we analyze your situation. We'll give you a written plan in your hand, and then you can decide if you want to work with us or not. But I got to tell you, we're deciding also if we want to work with you or not, because we don't just blanket work with everyone. That's the reason we don't charge for the plan, because we'll give it to you just to see if we want to work with you, and then if you want to work with us, then we'll move forward. But everything starts on you having your budget set, because we got to know if we can help you, how much you're going to need. You've got to call in to get that.
Absolutely. Well, no, I know, Tom, when you meet with folks, if you don't know the answer to some of these questions, they will sit down with you. They'll be able to help you figure out what your budget needs to be based on your individual unique situation. This is simply an invitation to have a conversation to see how Tom and the team at Mosley Wealth Management can help and serve you. So we encourage you. We are going to take a quick commercial break. This is a great time to call that number on the bottom of your screen, 866-709-1462, or you can scan that QR code and that will get you connected as well for you to come in and get your own complimentary retirement blueprint. More on today's show as we discuss the whens in retirement right after this.
The work never seems to end until the day it finally does. After nearly a lifetime on the job, you should be rewarded for all the time you spent working. Whether that's crossing off items on your bucket list, learning a new passion, or rekindling the love of an old one. After all, life isn't over when you stop working. It's the start of an all-new chapter, the one where you're the writer and you get to choose how your story will go. A way to achieve that is by having a clear financial plan to sustain your golden years. The biggest fear most retirees have is if they'll have enough money to maintain the lifestyle they've always enjoyed. Having a plan to help protect you against the curveballs life often throws will help to maintain your lifestyle. Call today to get your free written financial plan so you may live every day to the fullest and enjoy the retirement of your dreams.
Welcome back to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. I'm your host, Kristin Oakley, and we are having a very important discussion today called the whens in retirement, meaning when should you do this? When should you do that? There's so many things that folks need to know and understand about their own retirement plan. And you know, Tom, one of the things that I really want to bring up in our final segment here is a lot of folks have been working and the days of womb to tomb employment are over. You know, no longer are people typically graduating from college, getting a job and working at the same place for 40 years. A lot of folks have left jobs. That means they have old workplace retirement plans, 401ks, 403bs, you name it, that are out there still floating around. So I'd love for you to touch on what folks need to be aware of with their workplace retirement plans, if they've left them behind or if they're still working. At what age do they need to start figuring out what to do with that lump sum of money?
Well, again, I've said this before, the time to start is today, now. You're never going to start any sooner. But if you have left, we actually give, when somebody says they want a retirement blueprint and they're going to come in to meet with us, we mail you a series of things that we want you to bring in. And it's not uncommon for one of our advisors within every month almost, Kristin, to have somebody say they came in and they had forgotten about a 401k they used to have, or they had forgotten about a 403b they used to have. All of the plans that start with a 4, they were all in the same paragraph of the bill.
Too, right?
That's right. That's
Yep.
right. They're all there. So if you've got what's called a dormant 401k or 403b, 457, all those things, if you've got something that's dormant, and you're still, wherever you are, you could move that, if you like, over to an IRA. Now, why would you do that? You would do that because within a 401k, a lady came in last week and I was talking to her and she said, I only have 12 options within my 401k. She said, I'm with, I won't say the name, it's a big box firm. And she said they've got thousands of, it's the biggest firm, and they've got thousands of mutual funds, but I only have 12 options within this 401k. And
So
it was a
limited.
dormant.
It's so
That's right,
limited,
very
yeah.
limited. And probably some of those options are good, and some of those options aren't that good because they can't sell those mutual funds in the real world, so they put them in a 401k.
That's a good point.
Well, it's really the way it works. But you probably want to get into an IRA. You probably want to forget the 401k that's more structured. Think of it as the lumber yard. You want to start building a retirement plan. Now, if you're 59 and a half and you're looking toward, I'm going to start building a retirement plan when I retire and then I'll use my 401k. almost every company out there will allow you to do now what's called an in-service distribution. You're still in service to the company, but you can actually distribute. We just had a $760,000 401k, and we were able to pull out. We always want to leave a little bit so that it still is alive as long as you're working with the company. But we were able to pull out $740,000 and start putting it into a retirement blueprint where we built a plan, even though the person is still working there. Okay, so we worked together. We put together a plan. So there are things you can do. Somebody always asks, and I always feel like it's fair to say, why would you leave it in the 401k? You would leave it in the 401k if you think you're going to get sued, because the major point is they cannot sue you and take your money out of a 401k. But I jokingly say, and if you've been in Southern California 30 years or more, you know this, unless you plan to do away with your spouse and get sued by her family and get sued for $30 million like a famous person did 30 years ago, and I hope you know who that is, then go ahead and move it, because you've got more options. Otherwise, he got sued, he lost the $30 million lawsuit, and they got no money because it stayed in the 401k. So if you're going to get sued or do something like that, keep it in the 401k. Otherwise, get life going. Start the plan, start building. We call it a retirement blueprint, where we sit down with you and we see what you have in your lumberyard. We see what kind of income flows you're going to have. What kind of gap are you going to have? We fill that gap. That's your paycheck. That replaces your paycheck when you walk out the door. Then the rest of it is your paycheck to have fun with, to go do what you want, to enjoy your retirement years. You say, well, I'm not sure I could enjoy my retirement years not knowing if I'm going to run out of money. When your paycheck is secure and you know you're going to have guaranteed increasing income the rest of your life, and as long as your spouse lives, if they live longer than you, if you're married, then you've got the comfort to go enjoy what you're doing with your paycheck. You can go to Europe. You can go to Bora Bora. You can enjoy life in retirement. And that's the kind of plan we can build for you, but you've got to reach out to us. Please reach out, call us. We'll put you on our schedule. We'll meet with you.
Wonderful. Tom, thank you so much. It's always a joy to be with you. And to our viewers at home, we appreciate you watching. Again, Tom and the team at Mosley Wealth Management want to help you figure out what you can do in retirement, not what you can't do. But in order to do that, you got to pick up the phone and call 866-709-1462. We appreciate you watching. We love you, Southern California. We look forward to being back with you next week. We'll see you next time.